daily lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. With that, we're going to start tonight's report for April 25th of 2022. Again, this Monday evening. It is currently about 4 a.m., about 3:55 a.m. Kiev time. We're starting about 5 minutes early this evening. Again, we usually start about 4 a.m. Ukraine time for those reports. Again, I just want to quickly thank everybody that is tuning in this evening. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for not only following along here, choosing to get your information from these reports, but I want to thank everybody for their support. I want to thank Alpha November Oscar November really quick there for cheering those bits. A hype train just started in our channel. I don't actually know how that works, but again, thank you guys so much for those of you that are conducting that. You guys are awesome, every single one of you guys. Thank you so much for subscribing, for cheering those bits and everything else. Again, guys, we're getting started now with tonight's reports. I have a lot of information to share with you guys tonight. We're going to get everybody caught up on the events of this weekend. Again, I hope everybody had a beautiful weekend. I know it's kind of hard to give them this, given the circumstances right now, which are again unfolding in Ukraine. However, I hope everybody was able to enjoy their Saturday and Sunday off. Again, we don't have reports on the weekends, but we're back tonight, this Monday night. We're going to be bringing you guys reports all week long from 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every evening. Again, that's 4 a.m. Ukraine time. With that, again, I'm going to start bringing you guys tonight's kind of main headlines from this evening. Again, I just want to thank really quickly again Alpha November, Oscar November, and Miss Chris there. Thank you guys so much this evening for tuning in. Kush Queen, thank you so much for tuning in. Sinata TV, thank you so much. It's 4 in the morning here in Estonia. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight there from one of the Baltic countries there, one of our Baltic states there of Estonia. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, guys. So with that, again, we're going to be going over our primary headlines tonight, leading off with our major story tonight, which is, again, Russia stepping up its attacks in the east of Ukraine in the Donbass region. Russia now targeting Western weapon shipments into Ukraine, again, as that Donbass assault ramps up. A former Pentagon official in a statement today said the fight for Donbass will be won or lost primarily on logistics. Russia is making good on promises to attack U.S. and allied weapons shipment points and fuel depots in Ukraine. Again, launching rockets at 5 railway facilities used to funnel critical supplies into the country on Monday. The attacks across western and central Ukraine targeting supply lines and infrastructure come as billions worth of heavy artillery systems, tanks, and armored vehicles begin arriving to help Ukraine face off against what is expected to be a full-scale assault in the Donbass, which is arguably already begun and is taking taking place now as we bring you guys these reports live. On Monday, again, the U.S. Secretary of State and Defense huddled with top Ukrainian officials in Kiev, where they pledged hundreds of millions of dollars more in military aid for the coming fight. Quote, "We want to see Russia weakened for the degree that it can't do this kinds of things that it has done in invading Ukraine." Again, that came from Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Again, that statement saying, quote, "We want to see Russia weakened to the degree that it can't do the kinds of things that it has done in invading Ukraine. Again, a large uptick in the rhetoric there, outright stating that they want to see Russia in a weakened position. Another quote from that report saying it had already lost a lot of military capability and a lot of its troops. Quite frankly, and we want to see them not to have capability to do very quickly reproduce that capability. Again, speaking to the fact that they want to see their future military capability significantly reduced after this war is over. Again, over the past 2 weeks, the Pentagon has picked up the pace of its deliveries to the battlefield, rushing in more than $1 billion worth of heavy weaponry and other aid by sea and by air. On Thursday, President Joe Biden approved another $800 million weapons package. Again, we've been seeing kind of a pattern of these $800 million weapons packages they've been approving, one after another, after another, after another. They've been sending them into Ukraine. And it's not just the U.S. sending arms, it's a lot of other countries, a laundry list of countries, Canada, the UK, many European countries sending equipment as well. Out of that $800 million weapons package, again, that includes 72 150 millimeter howitzers. That's, again, that large artillery system there. And not just that, but the munitions that go along with that. By Saturday, again, those howitzers were already showing up in the country, Austin had said Monday. Again, also, there's another deal being passed through. They're looking to send, I believe it's north of $120 million worth of ammunition into Ukraine. That was an approved sale, a federal sale of ammunition directly to Ukraine. Again, I'll try to get an official number for that aid package. That it's actually a sale. They're looking to sell officially a federal deal to sell this ammunition directly to the Ukrainian military. Again, I had a number. I believe it's 120 million, if I'm not mistaken. I'll try to get an updated number here in a second here. Okay, again, moving on here just with tonight's report. So again, we have the increase in activity in the east, in the Donbass there. You also have Russia stepping up its vow to target those weapon shipments coming into Ukraine. I think, especially this week, over the next few days, we're probably going to see more of that activity. The question remains, are we going to see these strikes occur outside of Ukrainian territory, or if they're going to continue mainly occurring within Ukrainian territory, within the country? Again, earlier today, President Biden named his pick for ambassador to Ukraine. He announced that Bridget Brink, a career diplomat and current ambassador to Slovakia, is the nominee for the post that has been vacant since 2019. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kiev this weekend, said the U.S. would send millions more dollars worth of aid and is beginning to send diplomats back to the country after evacuating embassy personnel to Poland in February. Again, speaking to those 5 rail infrastructure targets that Russia targeted in central and western Ukraine. Again, this came from Ukraine's National Rail Service directly. At least 5 people were killed and 18 were injured in strikes at railway stations in the west central region of Vinnytsia, according to the Associated Press. The strikes cut electricity to several rail lines and delayed passenger service on dozens of trains. The attacks came within hours of a visit by U.S. Secretary of State and the Defense Secretary. Real quickly, I would like to just give a quick shout out to tonight's sponsor for this evening's stream, Peace and Memes. They're selling unique Ukrainian, pro-Ukrainian morale merch and designs, meme shirts, things like that. Again, you can find a link to them in the description below this stream. Again, moving on with tonight's reports, Russia's ambassador to the U.S. called on the Biden administration to, quote, stop shipping weapons to Ukraine. In an interview with state media, Ambassador Anatoly Anotov said he had delivered a formal diplomatic note to contest the arms deliveries. Russia has previously warned it views NATO weapon deliveries as legitimate military targets. Again, We've seen, that they are going to act on this vow to strike these weapon shipments being sent into Ukraine. Again, question remains: are they going to look to strike these targets outside of Ukraine, or are these targets mainly going to be are these strikes mainly going to be conducted within the country's borders? Because that would be a definite game changer when it comes to kind of how NATO looks to handle this situation moving forward. If Russia decides to strike outside of Ukraine's borders, they might get more involved. Russia's defense ministry said it would allow civilians to evacuate from a besieged Avestal steel plant in Mariupol, but Ukraine said no humanitarian corridor agreement was reached as of Monday. The plant is the last remaining Ukrainian-held outpost in the port city of Mariupol, which Russian forces have blockaded for much of the last 2 months. This weekend, Russia called in airstrikes on the steel factory to dislodge Ukrainian troops holding out there. Again, earlier that in the week, we had those images for you guys of the smoke billowing from the plant there at that Avestal steel factory. Much of Europe welcomed the French election result in which President Emmanuel Macron won a second term. His far-right opponent Marine Le Pen campaigned for a strategic shift for France that would have involved pulling it out of NATO's integrated military command and backing closer NATO ties with Russia once the Ukraine war ends. Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated Macron on his re-election. According to the Kremlin, Macron has worked toward diplomacy with Russia over Ukraine, including a Moscow visit in February and repeated phone calls with Putin. Another report from earlier this evening. Again, there was a oil depot in Bryansk, Russia, that was struck. What we believe has been struck. Again, we're waiting to get more information on this. But an oil depot fire that has been reported there. It's now been reported that Vladimir Putin has said that it is getting an investigation underway there to get down to the root cause and the scale of that blaze. Again, that was all being assessed. Russia said it will investigate a large fire that broke out at an oil depot in one of its cities near the Ukrainian border. 2 explosions can be heard in an unverified footage shared on social media, with a blaze shown raging around a giant fuel reservoir. Again, in the community post that we put up on our YouTube channel earlier, we actually had a picture of that oil fire burning there in Bryansk, Russia. The Kremlin's Ministry of Emergency Situations confirmed that the fuel tanks at the facility in the Bryansk region were set on fire. Nobody had been hurt in the incident, it had said in that press release. Again, the fire, which started at the facility owned by a oil pipeline company, Transneft, at 2 a.m. Moscow time, aka 11 p.m. GMT, give or take, did not require the evacuation of any parts of Bryansk. Again, a city of over 400,000 people. There was no threat to diesel and gasoline supplies in the Bryansk region after the incident, as there were enough fuel stockpiles. Russia's energy ministry had said, again in a statement they added, that the cause and the scale of the blaze were still being assessed at this time. Again, this comes as there's been a multitude of threat alerts, increases in terrorist threat levels in those regions around in Russia near the Ukraine border. Again, speaking more to the meeting in Kiev today with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Antony Blinken. Again, we've been waiting for some time now for the U.S. to send a delegation into Ukraine. Again, they have now sent that delegation into the country. Again, earlier today, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin again has said he hopes Russia losses in Ukraine will deter its leadership from repeating its actions elsewhere. Again, referring to the possibility that they could look to repeat these same actions in other countries, as they have done in the past, speaking to Georgia, Chechnya, etc. Ukraine can still win the war if given the right support, he added. He also announced that the U.S. would allocate an extra $713 million, aka about 559 million euros of military aid to Ukraine and other European nations, not just Ukraine. Speaking mainly, I believe, to a lot of those Baltic states, a lot of those Baltic NATO partner countries, NATO countries or NATO partner countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the West of attempting to, quote, split Russian society and destroy Russia from within. Mr. Austin, a retired four-star general, was speaking after meeting Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky in Kiev, also involving Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. The visit marked the highest-level trip to Ukraine by U.S. officials since the invasion began over 2 months ago. Again, that warning from from Russia earlier. Russia told the United States to stop, quote, sending more weapons, sending more arms to Ukraine, warning that large Western deliveries of weapons were inflaming the conflict and would lead to, quote, more losses. Again, that came from Moscow's ambassador to Washington. Russia's February 24th invasion of Ukraine has killed thousands of people, displaced millions more, and raised fears of a wider confrontation between Russia and the United States. By far the world's two biggest nuclear powers. Again, um, uh, as they are warning, as Russia is warning here again for the United States not to supply any arms shipments, any further arms shipments to Ukraine at this time. The Metropolitan Opera and the Polish National Opera are organizing a Ukrainian Freedom Orchestra to tour Europe and America from July 28th to August 20th. The orchestra is to gather in Warsaw on July 18th for rehearsals and will include musicians from Kiev, Lviv, Kharkiv, and Odessa, plus Ukrainian members of European orchestras and companies. Again, in a statement from that opera Monday. Again, not only looking to support Ukraine, but Ukrainian morale as well. That was a report from earlier today. In a statement from Sergei Lavrov, again, that spokesperson for the Kremlin, from earlier, says danger of nuclear war is, quote, real, but insists Russia is trying to lower the risks. Again, Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, has insisted his country is striving to lower the risk of nuclear war, but again, said it was a real and serious danger. Quote, it is real and it cannot be underestimated, he said in an interview aired on Russian television Monday night. Referencing a famous joint declaration by Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev, when the then leaders of the United States and the Soviet Union agreed that a, quote, nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Lavrov said the indismissibility of nuclear war remained Russia's principal position. Weeks after occupying the city, Russian troops take control of the Kerasan City Council. Officials have stated in a press release Monday. Again, weeks after first occupying the major Ukrainian city of Kherson, Russian troops have taken control of the Kherson City Council, according to two members of the city government. Kherson Mayor Igor Kolekayev, again, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, said on Facebook that Monday night, armed men entered the building of Kherson City Council, took the keys, and replaced our guards with their own. Addressing rumors that the Ukrainian flag that flew over the city council had been taken down, Koyalekiev noted that the flag was still flying over the building when he had left. Speaking of which, Zelensky, in a statement Monday, scoffs at the Russians' planned a sham referendum, as he's calling it, in the occupied Kherson. Again, 2 days ahead of Russia's plan to stage a referendum in the occupied Kherson region of Ukraine, Zelensky has come out and hailed his people's refusal to give their backing to Russia's occupying forces. In a quote from that report, people in the occupied towns have showed with their protest, their attitude towards the occupiers. They have showed that Ukraine will definitely win. Zelensky said in his nightly video address. Again, that was on Monday today. Another quote from that, Russia wants to stage a sham referendum somewhere on our land. Even if they try, it will be as shameful as everything else that was created in Moscow to support the occupation of Ukraine, he added in that statement. There's not much left of the town of Shikivka, a small village about 16 miles or about 26 kilometers southeast of Severodonetsk. In new drone footage published Monday by the Russian-backed separatist government of Luhansk People's Republic shows the absolute destruction and decimation of the city there. Of the buildings, not only the civilian infrastructure, but the government buildings and infrastructure there has been targeted as well. Again, I hope to have a few videos and pictures of that here when we switch over to our live UA map reports. I think with that, that concludes tonight's main headlines. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to our situation room on the Discord community server, and we will start taking a look at some of the community aggregated news from this evening. Actually, Kayuka, a member over on our server, actually sent me a article here that could start us off. Just sent this over. Let's go ahead and get over to our big screen, though, so that we can see everything that's going on here. Okay, so with that, we're going to transition over. All right, so Kayuka sent over this article from CNN, edition.cnn here. Where's the... Oh, here we go. Here's the main article here. U.S. State Department approves foreign military sale of 165. So earlier, the amount I gave you guys was $120 million. It's even more than that. It's $165 million worth of ammunition. I believe that's not just small arms ammunition, but also some large caliber ammunition as well, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'll read some of the article here. The U.S. State Department approved a foreign military sale to Ukraine of $165 million worth of, quote, non-standard ammunition Monday. I believe non-standard ammunition also means, I believe that refers to things like that, the larger artillery munitions, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, no. Okay, so here they say in a senior Defense Department official told reporters on Sunday that it's, quote, the kind of ammunition that the Ukrainians still use because they had so many of their systems are ex-Soviet. So again, they're talking older munitions that the U.S. probably has had in warehouses for some time, stockpiling. Again, a quote here from that article: the proposed sale will improve Ukraine's capability to meet current and future threats by maintaining the operational readiness of its forces, according to the State Department press release. Again, Ukraine has requested to buy various rounds of non-standard ammunition, including but not limited to 152 millimeter rounds for the 2A36 Giasint. I take it those are artillery, 152 millimeter. That sounds like artillery rounds. D20 cannons. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are all artillery rounds, if I'm not mistaken here. VOG 17 for automatic grenade launcher, AGS 17 for 120 millimeter mortar rounds, 122 millimeter rounds. Okay, so yeah, a lot of larger munitions that they're looking to send over. Also tank munitions. So there's quite a bit of tank munitions in there as well that they're looking to send over. So again, thank you to Kayuka for posting sending that over to me. Michelle Kilpatrick, thank you so much for sending this over. She just sent this over via a PM here. This is what looks to be a press release here referring to that same article there. Again, from the 25th, so today, the State Department has made a determination approving of a possible foreign military sale to the government of Ukraine of various rounds of non-standard ammunition for an estimated cost of $165 million. The Defense Security Cooperation Agency delivered the required certification notifying Congress of this possible sale on April 24th, so that was yesterday. Again, the government of Ukraine has requested to buy various rounds of non-standard ammunition, and it goes ahead and it lists those ammunitions there on screen. Thank you, Michelle, for sending that over. Nope, nonetheless, it's useful for us to have that that kind of more blown out text there so you guys can read that. All right, guys, so really quickly, again, let me, I'm just getting kind of oriented here in my situation room so I can bring you guys the latest posts. Another one from Kayuka. This was posted on Twitter earlier from Ukraine Weapons Tracker. Again, there are reports that a quote mine was found planted on a railway line in one of the villages of rural Bryansk Oblast. Again, that is near uh, where those oil depots were struck. So that's very interesting. You can see those kind of rectangle-shaped mines. I've seen a lot of those this war. I'm not again. I'm not an expert on military hardware. However, what I'm most used to seeing, anti-personnel mines. When I think of a mine, I think of, your typical round, pie-shaped, cake-shaped land mine. Interesting. I've seen a lot of pictures of these rectangle box-shaped mines used both by the Russian forces and some even by the Ukrainian forces, which is interesting. Again, thank you to Kayuka for posting that over in the Situation Room. Again, I'm scrolling through here. Another one from Kayuka here. I'm going to, in fact, there's quite a few having to do with the Bryansk. I think it's relative. I do like to shuffle through people and not have just, all of the posts coming from one person. However, I think this is relevant here. Again, the Bryansk police are looking for a white minibus, according to investigators. It was on it that the drone operator moved to attack the local oil depot early this morning. Again, that was that strike on that Russian oil depot. Very interesting post. Thank you so much, Kayuka, for sending that over. So they are looking to get some investigation going into who struck that oil depot there. And Jack, in the Situation Room, posted this. This comes from OSINT Defender on Twitter. Thank you so much for sending this over. So 2 large explosions are being reported in the city of Parkani in the Moldovan breakaway region of Transnistria. This city is extremely close to the border between Moldova and Transnistria. Again, I have some more information on Live UA Map, and we'll cover that again, speaking to that breakaway region there in Moldova that I've been talking about possibly getting involved. In fact, I can show you on the Live UA Map right here. And you can actually see that posted right here on Live UA Map. So I'll just, go ahead and show you guys that. Again, you can see where those explosions were reported. Is this false flag narrative building? Is this a preemptive strike by Ukrainians on that territory because they see possibly that the Russians are looking to move into that area? It could be. It could be. Again, only time will tell. But again, I've been talking about the possibility that this region here is going to get involved in this conflict because you guys got to think about this, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. But Transnistria is basically it's for Russia. For Russia, to them, it just looks like a Donbass 2.0. Okay, they don't want another Donbass 2.0. So I think for them, it's most. I think for them it's imperative that they connect the land bridge here in the south, and they want to get a foothold over Transnistria. They want to absorb this area here, and the reason being is because if they absorb that area and they make it official after this war, the region settles down, and then they have control over all of this here, including Transnistria, and they don't have the possibility of a future conflict sparking up here, a future Donbass, so to speak, or a future Crimea popping up here in this breakaway region. I think that's what Russia's end game here is looking at. Again, Titan Intel Group said false flag express. Exactly. That's exactly what we're seeing here. I think is possibly narrative building, either that, or it's either that, or the Ukrainian intelligence has basically gotten word that there's possibly a mobilization happening in this region, or that maybe there are some kind of Russian assets that are in place here, and that the Ukrainians are preemptively striking those assets. That's speculative on my part, you guys, so keep that in mind. It could also be, though, that Russia is looking to build some false flag here, build some narrative here, in order to, again, kind of move to cap the south here, right to Transnistria, right over from Moldova. I really don't think Odessa is out of. I don't think Odessa is in the clear yet. I think we're going to probably see an escalation as the Russians look to move westward here, possibly again as Transnistria gets involved here as well. Okay, so moving on to more of our community posts here. This one came from Fallen Rays, one of our mods over on the Discord server. It's posted on Twitter from Kiev Independent, verified Twitter source there. From the governor there, 4 people killed, 9 wounded in Kharkiv Oblast on April 25th. Russian forces continue to shell residential neighborhoods in the regional capital, Kharkiv, according to the Kharkiv Oblast governor. Again, that report came from earlier today. Thank you for sending that over, Fallen Rays. Shelf sent over this video here posted on Twitter. I believe this shows what looks to be a mobilization of Russian military equipment. Again, you can see, okay, so actually this is some derailed equipment here. Looks like it's been derailed here off the train tracks. In fact, I'm going to get a translation here on this so you guys can know what that says. It says that they write that near Beryansk, the horde equipment overturned a bit. So this is near Beryansk, near that railway I think that we were speaking of earlier. Unsinkable asks a good question. He says, how do you feel about Ukraine getting self-propelled howitzers with guided shells? This is the system that could fire 5 rounds and make them all hit at the same time. Well, it would probably be pretty beneficial for them militarily. I would argue that. Again, 1 second here, guys. This next post comes from Kayuka on Twitter, comes from Igor Kosov. It says, in Zaporizhia, interviewing folks and officials, I've been told that in one area, 60 Russians handed in their weapons and asked to be allowed to stay in Ukraine. In another area, about as many Russians were killed by civilian resistance. Sounds like they're having a hard time. Interesting. Interesting. Again, possibly unverified reporting there coming from that Twitter source, but still interesting. Thank you, Kayuka, for sending that over. In a post posted by Vanquish, one of our mods over on the Discord server, over on the Situation Room, posted this. This comes from Daily Mail. It's a post here saying Sweden and Finland agree to both apply for NATO membership in May in defiance of Russian threats. Two newspapers, one Swedish and the other Finnish, have reported the governments of Sweden and Finland have agreed to submit NATO applications at the same time, and that it will happen in the middle of next month, again, for that NATO membership there. Again, a post from Kayuka. Comes from Deborah Haynes on Twitter here. Breaking, the UK assesses that approximately 15,000 Russian personnel have been killed fighting in Ukraine so far. Again, we've heard that possibly that number is higher. In some cases, that maybe that number is lower. Again, we won't know concrete information on that until this war is said and done. I often tell people the best way to get a concrete idea of what that number is really like is to take an average between the numbers posted from the Ukrainians, the numbers posted from the Russians, the numbers posted from the British intelligence, the U.S. intelligence, and then run your average, and that's probably the most realistic assessment that you're going to get. Another post here comes from Oddly Normal on the Situation Room here. This came from this morning. It's a video in Russia. Hold on, let me see here. There we go. In Russia, in Uryansk, at the local air base, there's a fire there. Again, you can see footage of that smoke rising from what is reported to be that air base there. Again, another post from Kayuka over on the Discord. This actually came from about 3 days ago here. From the Euromaidan Press. Again, this is from April 21st, but I think it's still relevant. Russia prepares large-scale provocations in Belgrade, Kursk, Bryansk oblasts at civilian infrastructure and residential areas. And so you notice, what do we have today? Bryansk, okay, the oil depots, all right, plus the rail lines. Wreckage of downed Bayraktars and helicopters are being brought there to blame Ukraine. So again, very interesting details there. Also involving this breakaway state, possibly. Again, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. Fallen Rays, thank you so much. Another one of our mods over on the Discord server posted this video here, an angle from Bryansk, from that oil depot, reportedly. Fallen Rays, thank you so much for posting this. This is apparently again an angle from that oil depot. Of that fire breaking out there, of that explosion breaking out there. You can see from that oil container, that oil storage container, very violent explosion there and fire that ensued. Again, posted on the Situation Room from Fallen Rays. Again, thank you to everybody that contributed. I know we don't have time to go through all of those Situation Room posts, but again, thank you guys so much for posting those over in the Situation Room, for aggregating those community aggregated reports. Unstable says that's the clip where you can hear a cruise missile pop in. That's interesting. Are you speaking of the local airbase one, or the oil fire one? I think what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to our live UA map, and I'm going to go through about the last 20 or so hours. We'll go as far back as a day ago here, so I can show you the oil fire at the oil depot there in Bryansk. He said, no, the oil fire one. If you watch it with the sound, you can hear it incoming. Okay, thank you, Unsinkable. So we're going to go back there and we're going to watch that footage. My dumb self did not put the audio in there for you guys. So let's do that real quick so we can hear that audio. Again, thank you, Unstinkable, for being on top of that. Much appreciated. Okay, so let's get this going here for you guys. All right, so... All right, I have it unmuted. I don't think we're getting any audio from this clip, Unstinkable. Unstinkable, if you could send me over, if you could find a clip with the audio, I can get that over to you. But yeah, we're not having any, there's no audio coming through on that at this time. I guess, yeah, I want to make sure, yeah, just all my audio levels are good. Yeah, there's no audio coming from that video. Send me one with the sound. Roger that. Thank you so much. All right. So until he gets us that video, here's, again, a video of that oil depot fire in Bryansk there. get that up on screen so that we can watch that video here. Here it is on Telegram. Some footage of pretty far away there of that oil fire burning. Doesn't seem to be any audio there, but you can see just the brightness of the sheer amount of material there burning off. Absolutely destructive. The heat from that alone will destroy basically anything in the immediate vicinity. Not to mention the massive amount of pollution that comes from that much oil fumes being produced into the air. 21 hours ago, explosions at that oil storage facility in Bryansk are so large that they're visible on NASA firm's map. Well, as we've proven, we don't need that firm's map we don't need those explosions to be too big to show up on that firm's map. And just 1 second here, I'm going to get that firm's map up on the screen here so that I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. So really quickly, we'll scroll out of that the Bryansk region there. Hold on, let's go back down right about here. Okay. So again, I'm not a geographical expert here when it comes to Russian geography, but it is in the north there, north of Sumy Oblast. So I believe these here. I believe here is our fire in Bryansk. Yes, I believe this is the oil depot fire here, if I'm not mistaken. Take my latitude, longitude, and I'm just going to confirm that that is, in fact, Bryansk that we're looking at on the map there. I believe it is. Yes, it is. So that is the oil depot. Smack dab, what we're looking at there is that oil depot. So you can see from space here, guys, that fire that was burning at that oil depot there in Russia. So again, huge fire that occurred there 21 hours ago here. Here's a picture of the smoke over the oil depot in Bryansk there. You can see that picture of that absolutely massive cloud of smoke that has risen over that city there because of that oil fire, possibly because of those strikes there. We don't know if, again, we haven't got confirmation if those were Ukrainian strikes. If those were Ukrainian strikes or if those were, if this is just an accident that occurred there at this oil depot, it's looking like it's possibly a strike from Ukrainian forces at that oil depot there. It could also be some narrative building here by the Russian forces. Again, we're going to have to keep a close eye on this situation. 21 hours ago here, you can see a closer look at that area on the NASA firms. Shows two groups of fires in Bryansk there. In fact, actually, let me go back to our firm's map, and I can try to zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, I'm only showing one group of fires there. They again, as they have put out those fires there all these hours later, I believe we have a more up-to-date look here. As Greenville Hauser says, yes, it looks like a mushroom cloud. It looks like a big mushroom cloud, almost like you would see from a small nuke or something, or a large bomb in the sky there. Very big cloud of smoke there. 21 hours ago, video from this morning in Bryansk. You can see a picture there of that oil depot on fire there, and then some footage here of it burning. Watch that. Again, you can see the smoke pluming out of that oil depot there. Some more footage of it burning there. As you can see, very intense flames there coming off of that oil depot as all of that fuel burns off. 20 hours ago here, Blinken told Zelensky U.S. diplomats are to return to Ukraine this week, said a State Department official. So they're looking like they might return to Ukraine for another visit. 19 hours ago, Ukrainian armed forces restored control over 5 settlements of the Mykolaiv region. Operational Command South. Again, you can see that location on the map there. You can also see, I believe there's a video here posted with our source from Telegram.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I believe it's the Ukrainian press release here, which you guys
Слава
can see here.
Україні! Шановні мешканці та захисники південних регіонів України. Завершується 60-та доба мужнього спротиву українського народу ворожим.
19 hours ago, the fire is still burning at that oil depot in Berdyansk. You can see a picture there of that large plume of smoke rising above that oil depot. Again, apologies to all of the headphone users that might have lost an eardrum. F's in chat for those lost eardrums just now. Apologies, guys, for that. I will lower that volume down a little bit. 19 hours ago, Secretary Blinken and Secretary of Defense conclude the trip to Ukraine. Senior officials announced U.S. diplomats will return to Ukraine as early as this week with day trips to Lviv, and Bridget Brink will be nominated as, quote, the next U.S. ambassador to Kiev. 19 hours ago, explosions reported in Odessa. Possible air defense engaged the aerial threat there. Possibly looking at, again, cruise missile attack, ballistic missile attack. Again, waiting to get more information there on those strikes in Odessa. There's been quite a few over the past few weeks. 19 hours ago, Russia sends note to U.S. demanding to stop arms supplies to Ukraine. Again, reported on that earlier this evening. 19 hours ago, more from the senior state defense officials via pool producer. Again, that came from ABS NBC. U.S. announcing $713 million in foreign military financing for 16 European countries, including $322 million for Ukraine. Foreign military sale of $165 million, again, of that non-standard ammunition. 18 hours ago, President Zelensky met with the State Secretary Blinken and Defense Secretary Austin in Kiev. Again, pictures from that meeting there. Brian said no sound on YouTube. Are you guys able to hear those video sounds? Good. I hope that the audio is coming through well for everybody. 18 hours ago here, explosions reported in Uman, Cherkasy region. You can see that here, located on the map, basically in smack dab central Ukraine, right along that MO5 highway here, which I've spoke about many times, could be a dividing point. If not the MO5, if not the Dnieper River, the MO5, if they manage to push that far. 17 hours ago, fires in 2 settlements of Zolochiv district of Lviv region as a result of missile strikes in those areas. Again, you can see those strikes on the map there, again, in the western region of Ukraine. 17 hours ago, several explosions reported in the Vinnytsia region. Again, that is in central Ukraine there, in the Vinnytsia Oblast. There's a military base there, I believe, as well as an airport in Vinnytsia that has come under target many times by the Russians. Come under attack many times by those Russian forces. 17 hours ago, Russian army deployed a big amount of equipment and military at the Velkia, Novosilka, and the Novodarivka, and the Malanivka front lines, attempting to advance towards Zaporizhia in that region. Again, you can see where those forces are deploying there, and from what the word is here is that they're moving in a northwesterly direction from that area. 17 hours ago here, 9 Russian missiles hit yesterday a refinery and power plant in the Kremenchuk. Yesterday, 1 person killed, 7 wounded. Again, you can see that location there along the Dnieper River there in the center of Ukraine. Unfortunately, there were casualties at that strike there in Kremenchuk. 17 hours ago, governor of the Kursk region claims 2 Ukrainian drones were shot down in that area. Again, that is in Russian territory where those drones are said to have been shot down. 17 hours ago, Russian troops shelled the Novoledkivka in the Dnipropetrovsk region with MLRS. That is that multiple rocket launching, most likely Grad, Smerch. We're not sure what the exact type of MLRS system that was used there. Either, again, Grad, most likely. Could have also been Smerch as well. They've also used some cluster munitions on those MLRS systems as well in recent weeks, we've seen. So, again, we're unsure the exact type of MLRS system that they used at that strike, but it's most likely Grad fire that they used there. 17 hours ago, head of Ukrainian Railways Company says 5 railway stations were hit with missiles in central and western Ukraine this morning. 17 hours ago, 2 missile strikes this morning at railway infrastructure in the Rivne region, says the head of regional administration. You can see those strikes on the map there. And if I play the video for you guys should be able to see, I believe it's the
Вітаю,
statement.
Рівненщина. Ворог завдав 2 ракетні
statement
удари
from the
по
regional
залізничній
administration
інфраструктурі. Збитки
Again,
встановлюються.
in Ukrainian. "17 hours ago, a missile launch over the Kerasan region there. You can see a picture of the contrail in the air there from that missile strike. Really quickly, I believe Unstinkable has sent over the video footage there of the moment of that oil depot explosion with the audio. Again, thank you for sending this over. I just want to make sure that my audio is good. It's not playing, though. Why is it not playing? There we go. Okay, my audio is coming through there. If you guys listen, we should be able to hear a missile strike. So right there. So right there you can hear it incoming. So right there you can hear it incoming, and then it struck right there. You can see the fire ensuing after that strike. Yeah, it definitely sounds like a missile strike there at that oil depot. That's definitely what it looks like to me. In fact, you can even hear the incoming missile there. That sounds like cruise missile to me, possibly. Maybe a ballistic missile of some kind. Unsure. But thank you, Unstinkable, for sending over that footage of that missile strike there on that oil depot. 17 hours ago, Secretary Blinken in Poland, after a visit to Ukraine, tells U.S. traveling press they met for 3 hours in Kiev with President Zelensky and his team after traveling by train from southwest Ukraine. U.S. diplomats will go back, and the Kiev embassy could reopen in, quote, weeks. They're looking to open that embassy there in the capital. 17 hours ago, 2 civilians killed as a result of landmine explosions in the Mykolaiv region. You can see an aerial photo of the destruction of those landmine strikes there. You can see the destruction there, I believe, from those strikes from those mines there. 16 hours ago here, there are casualties as a result of missile strikes in the Koziatin and Zerminka towns of Vinistia region. Again, stated from the head of the regional administration. I believe that's what that video is there, is a post from the regional administration head there, giving an update on that situation. Again, that is in Ukrainian. Otherwise, I would play that for you guys here. However, basically the rough translation from that video is, there are casualties as a result of the missile strikes that happened in that region. Again, you can see those strikes on the map here near Vinistia. There's been quite a few strikes in that area. Again, you can see in western and central Ukraine, guys, all of the targets that have been bombed by the Russians just in the past 24 hours. Okay, Zhytomyr, Vinistia, along the MO5 here in Cherkasy, near Lviv, near Lutsk, all of these places have been struck Odessa has been struck. And then, of course, you have the explosions in Transnistria, that breakaway region, which we have to keep our eyes on. That's definitely a possible contingency as well, a possible problem as well there, unfolding in Transnistria in that breakaway region. 16 hours ago, electrical substation damaged in Krasny town of Lviv region as a result of a missile strike. One missile in Lviv region was shot down by air defense. Said again, probably the local administration there that made that release. Again, you can see those strikes there in western Ukraine near Lviv. You can see the picture there of that footage. Sorry, the picture there of that strike, of the smoke coming from that electrical substation that was damaged in that strike. 16 hours ago, delays up to 90 minutes for some trains in western Ukraine due to destruction of railway infrastructure in those missile strikes that occurred. Again, coming from Russia, statements that is direct retaliation for those weapon shipments, for those Western weapon shipments making their way into the country. They're targeting that rail infrastructure. They're targeting the infrastructure which they are using to bring that weaponry, to bring those aid packages in to the country. 14 hours ago, Russia conducted missile strike at the railway infrastructure of Kerasan. Again, you can see that on the middle of the map here. Again, not too far from Zhytomyr, in Zhytomyr Oblast there. You can see those strikes there, not too far from Kiev. 14 hours ago, Russia announces unilateral ceasefire at the Avastol in Mariupol. We're still waiting to get more information on that possible ceasefire there at Avastol. 13 hours ago here, Ukrainian military shot down a Russian Su-34 plane in the Kharkiv region. You can see that located on the map here. In the east, where fighting is starting to heat up there. Again, Ukrainian military shot down a Russian Su-34 plane in that area. Again, in a direct government post from the Russian FSB, it claims it has foiled assassination plot against Russian propagandist Vladimir Soloviev. Several detained, ammunition seized. Again, the FSB accuses the SBU. Again, I'm pretty sure that's the Security Bureau of Ukraine that they are referring to there in that post. 12 hours ago. Again, in another state release here from the United States, President Biden has nominated U.S. diplomat Bridget Brink as the ambassador to Ukraine. You can see that press release there. Again, I reported on this a short while ago. 11 hours ago, 3 civilians killed as a result of Russian army shelling today in the Derhachi town of Kharkiv region. Again, you can see that post there. You can see that report there of that strike there, of that shelling in Derhachi, town of Kharkiv region. Again, there where the conflict is beginning to ramp up in the east of the country. 10 hours ago, as a result of a Russian missile strike on the railway infrastructure in the Zhytomyr region, about 20 nearby houses were damaged. One person was unfortunately injured in those strikes there. This is near Rivne. You can see the strikes there. There was also a strike in Rivne as well as that area there. Again, Zdolbuniv region. Again, 20 houses were damaged. One person was unfortunately injured in those strikes. 10 hours ago, again, that quote from my early reports saying, "We want to see hashtag Ukraine remain a sovereign country, a democratic country able to protect its sovereignty," per Secretary of Defense. Quote, "We want to see Russia weakened to the degree that it can't do the kinds of things that it has done in invading Ukraine." A very sharp uptick in the rhetoric there coming from those U.S. senior officials. 9 hours ago, Russian media published images of parts of Bayraktar drones, claiming 2 were shot down over the Borosko region in the Kursk region. Impossible to verify the Borosko village of the Kursk region. Impossible to verify the location or time of the images. Again, you can see an image of that reported Bayraktar wreckage there. 9 hours ago here, Britain announces that it will provide armored vehicles and military vehicles to Ukraine. Again, as multiple countries, not just European countries, not just the United States, but Britain as well, looks to ramp up the amount of aid that it is sending to Ukraine. 9 hours ago here, a 15-year-old boy killed in an explosion of unknown device at the Bakhmut town of the Chernihiv region. You can see a picture here of the destroyed building. I will show you here the location on the map of that strike there. Again, very unfortunate. A 15-year-old boy was killed in the explosion there. Again, in that town of Bakhmut, in the Chernihiv region. 9 hours ago here, a missile launch reported in the Stary Oskol, Belgrade region. Again, that is in Russia. You can see the contrail of that missile there being launched. Again, not sure on where that missile was heading, or if that was maybe a anti-air missile, an air defense missile, possibly that was launched there. 9 hours ago here, the UN Secretary General Guterres expressed his support and gratitude for President Erdogan for Turkey's diplomatic efforts to end the war in Ukraine. Again, that was the president of Turkey there. 9 hours ago, explosions reported in Tiraspol, Transnistria, near the building of the State Security Committee, aka the MGB. Again, in Transnistria, that breakaway region there is where those strikes occurred today. Very concerning. Also, again, I've been speaking to the fact that this is possibly a sign that they will be maybe getting involved here, that Russian element in the area will be further involved here. I know, again, I've been speaking about this since February, that not only will we possibly see Belarus get involved, but also Transnistria, that Moldovan breakaway region, get involved as well. 8 hours ago, fire at the residential apartment block as a result of Russian army shelling at Saldivka in Kharkiv. You can see that that report here on the map there. You can see a picture of that firefighter putting out the blaze there at that Ukrainian apartment block. 8 hours ago, satellite images show the third place of mass burial near Mariupol. I know there's been multiple satellite images that we've got out over the past few days. Again, looking from space, you can see what is reported to be more mass burial sites in those areas there in Mariupol. 8 hours ago, governor of the Belgrade region reports that Nikohidivka village was shelled from the direction of the border. Again, that is in Russia. So they're basically claiming there that the Ukrainians have shelled into Russian territory, into that town there. 7 hours ago, Russian troops shelled the Zelodolsk in the Dnipro-Petrovsk region. You can see a report there of the location of those strikes. Quite a few strikes occurred in that area. Again, that's in the Dnipro-Petrovsk region, Dnipro Oblast, as we like to call it. 7 hours ago, head of Luhansk Regional Administration, Serhiy Hadai, says explosion happened at meeting of occupation authorities in the city hall of Kremeina town. Again, I believe this is footage of that
Более-менее у нас сегодня такая нормальная новость. Это то, что они собрались большим хуралом на совещание.
6 hours ago here, Russian troops seized the building of Kerasan City Council. As I reported on earlier, it does look like the Russians have taken control of the city council in the city of Kerasan at this time. 6 hours ago, Poland's prime minister confirms that Poland has sent tanks to Ukraine. So Poland has, in fact, it has been confirmed now that Poland has sent military hardware, has sent tanks to Ukraine for the fight there. 6 hours ago, Macron discussed with Biden by phone the developments of the war in Ukraine, as reported earlier, about 6 hours ago. 6 hours ago here, explosions reported in Odessa, flashes in the sky. Again, there's been multiple explosions over the past few weeks there. As you can see, Odessa, again, explosions reported there. We're still waiting to get more information about what happened in Odessa there today. 5 hours ago, wounded as a result of a RGD-5 explosion in Irpin when police attempted to detain marauders. Again, there are still Russian saboteurs, there are still marauders in and around some of these areas of Kiev, in and around some of these other cities in Ukraine, there are still Russian elements, special forces elements operating, marauders, saboteurs, etc. So, again, result of a RGD-5 explosion in Irpin when police attempted to detain marauders in that area. I will see here if we can get... so this is all, again, footage of the detained marauders there as they're being questioned. There, again, they're being interrogated. What looks to be interrogated there after they have been captured. Again, no reports of casualties there. That one guy definitely looks pretty roughed up there. Again, as they are probably questioning what they're doing in those areas. Again, marauders, probably special forces unit is what I would guess, being sent in to destroy certain strategic targets in those areas. That's, again, just speculation on my part. 5 hours ago, one wounded as a result of Russian army shelling at Novorodivka in the Donetsk region. Again, you can see that report on the map there. 5 hours ago here, Russian army shelled the Bilopila community in the Sumy region. No casualties reported, again, says the head of the Sumy regional administration. You can see that report on the map there. 4 hours ago, 2 wounded as a result of shelling in the Zurakelivka village of the Belgrade region, says the local governor there. Again, that is over the border in Russian territory. There's been a lot of strikes happening in Russian territory, and I think, again, we're going to see kind of an uptick in the retaliatory responses from Russia for these strikes that are occurring in Russian territory. Four hours ago here, as a result of missile attacks at the Ukrainian railway stations, 1 person was killed, 4 wounded, again, ahead of the Ukrenzelnistia. Again, not sure if I am pronouncing that correctly, but here we have had a confirmed reports. Unfortunately, 1 person has been killed and 4 wounded as a result of those strikes at that railway target. Those railway stations there. 4 hours ago, explosions were reported in Mykolaiv. You can see here on the map. So that's fresh news coming out in the past 4 hours. Again, we need more information on that. 4 hours ago here, again, state-sponsored post here from Russia. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov threatens with real probability of beginning the Third World War. Again, in those statements made earlier this evening. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov says NATO de facto entered proxy war with Russia with weapons supply to Ukraine. Then again, 4 hours ago here we have those 2 explosions reported at Perkani in Transnistria, that breakaway region. And then here is our last report on live UA map for this evening. Russian army shelled Novo-Latvia with MLRS Smerch, also shelled Zeledolsk community villages, Novo-Polivka, Novovorodskoga, and a few other villages there. No casualties were reported as of 3 hours ago for those strikes. I'll go ahead and refresh live UA map here to make sure we don't got any other posts that have come in. We do have one here from 14 minutes ago. Donetsk Oblast, red alert, aerial threat sirens sounding now. You can see those alert sirens on the map there. Quite a few over the past 18 hours again. As a refresher, you can see all those air raid alert sirens that we've had in the country. You can see the blue circles there. That's where air raids have been sounding in about the past 12 to 24 hours or so. So the entire country still engulfed in those air raid sirens, in the possibility of constant bombardment at any time. Again, guys, a really dire situation unfolding there in Ukraine at this time. Our hearts go out to not only all the civilians in the country that are having to deal with this, but also our hearts go out to all of the Ukrainian servicemen, all of the Ukrainian service members that are there putting their lives on the line. And not just that, but our hearts go out to, unfortunately, the Russian servicemen that are being sent home in body bags to their families. There's people dying on both sides of this war here, and the death toll rises not by the hour but by the minute. In some cases, our death toll is rising here on both sides of the spectrum. There's an unfortunate amount of loss of life here on both sides of the spectrum. And as this war heats up here, it's not cooling down. As of this moment, guys, I can officially tell you, over the past week, this war has been heating up, has not been dying down at all. With that said, we're going to switch over here back to our newsroom, and I'm going to do a little bit of a Q&A. I'm going to read some comments and questions from the chat. Again, thank you to everybody that's tuning in this evening to tonight's report. Thank you guys so much. It means a lot to have you guys here following along. Again, I just want to give a shout out to all of our mods that are tuning in tonight. Tango Down, Too Tall, Fancy Hat, if you're there tuning in. Everybody that's tuning in, that's a mod. All of our mods over on the Discord server as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and doing what you do. Again here, guys, I also want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor for tonight's stream, Peace and Memes. You can find a link to them in the description below this live stream, where you can find some very thoughtfully crafted pro-Ukraine meme merch. I think you guys would really like some of the designs they've made up over there. Some really great stuff, so go check them out. Speedy Squirrel, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Glad to have you on. Glad to have you there. And Doom Pie with our weather forecast for Kiev today. Thank you so much for this. It's very important. Doom Pie, 6 o'clock, 10C, rainy, 70%, winds northeast, 12 kilometers an hour. Sunrise is slated for 5:43, sunset 20:09. So right on time. Thank you so much, Doom Pie, for that weather report. Scarlet King, thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream tonight, and glad to have you on board. Shake the hands says just not Russian civilians. So yeah, there's also some Russian civilians that are unfortunately going to die in this war and have had their homes and livelihoods stripped from them. So not only are Ukrainian civilians suffering, but Russian civilians, yes, are also suffering in this conflict. That is without a doubt. I want to make that clear to everybody that it's not just Ukrainian civilians, not just Ukrainian service members suffering, but yeah, there's Russians suffering. There's people in other countries too. Poland. There's people in Romania suffering from this. There's people in the Baltic states having to suffer from this as this refugee crisis comes down on them, as prices are increased, as oil prices go up, as food security is threatened. Again, there's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of issues occurring here on a broader level here across the European region. Titan Intel Group, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Fancy Hat, again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Takey Jakey says Putin's own goals and fears, or lack thereof, don't necessarily align with that of the average Russian. So, quote, Russia may be afraid of mad, but old, sad little Putin may not be. And that's exactly true. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people, that don't align with Putin's goals here of his special military operation. There are a lot of Russians, though, that do agree with the special military operation, though. And we've seen polls come out of Russia, showing that there is a lot of support for what he's doing, unfortunately. And a lot of that comes from, I think, an alienation of their media there, an alienation of the internet in Russia. They're not getting a lot of Western conflicting opinions within Russia, so that can be an issue, having an echo chamber like that, 100%. So again, that is a primary concern. Is getting information to the Russian people so that they can make their own decisions, and then also getting information from the Russian side of things out as well in Western eyes, to see basically what kind of what the narrative is that they're building there, and what kind of what the information that they're putting out, what their side of the information war is, so to speak. As Chris Strom says, have you heard from Mehmet? Yes, Mehmet is in Kiev. He's doing good. I'm hoping to have him on the show in the coming days and weeks. I've just been a little bit busy, so I haven't had time there to touch base with him as much as I'd like to. However, he is doing good, and he had a successful kitty rescue operation. The kitty had a few health issues, but I believe those were taken care of. I know there's a few people that could probably give an update on him better than I could at this time. However, again, I look to have him on the show probably in the coming days here, so stay tuned for that. Fancy Hat says I was grocery shopping. Well, that's always important. Matt, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Glad to have you on board. The Neutral One, thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel over there. Glad to have you tuning in tonight. Jillian, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. LD429 says rain is a good thing. Indeed it is. We need rain. Without it, plants and animals can't survive. Rocketman asks a good question. What are the ramifications if Russia targets an embassy? It's hard to tell how the U.S. would react, if they would directly react to that, if they would, again, look to pull their embassy staff out after a strike, and increase up the ante, so to speak, when it comes to the sanctions. That's possible as well. It's hard to tell if they would make a more direct decision, if they would make a more direct retaliation to a strike of that nature. Thirsty asks, I'm not sure how much knowledge you would have on the subject, but I would love to know how Russia's economy has survived since the start of the war. Well, Thirsty, that's kind of there's two sides to that equation. One side is you have the fact that Russia has spent the past 10 years or so fortifying their economy for this exact scenario. But on the other side of the spectrum, they didn't fortify enough, because there has been issues, in their economy, especially when it comes to things like food security, housing prices, etc., going up since the, I would say there's been a broad increase in pricing across the board in Russia since this war broke out. As for more specifics on that, I would have to get you some more information. Leith, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for following along on the stream. Takey Jakey, thank you so much for tuning in. Julia, thank you so much for tuning in. Says Putin will go down in history as a categorical skid mark. Well, again, I think that depends on how far he's willing to go in this war, and if his aims are successful. If he's able to successfully complete his objectives here and then return to the world stage, so to speak, the history books could be written a lot differently. However, if this bloody escapade continues, if this bloody path that he's on continues, I guarantee you could be right in that statement. If this continues to go the way it's going, things will get a lot worse when it comes to civilian casualties. And in the end, it's the amount of civilian casualties and bloodshed that really, kind of directs public opinion of him on the world stage. And you can see how far public opinion of him, at least in the West, has declined since the beginning of this war, directly due to the atrocities that have occurred in some of these places. Yanira, thank you so much for tuning in. Glad to have you watching the stream tonight. BK Barth says a lot of C4 explosives delivered a week or so back may being used inside of Russia, possibly. Yep. Again, we've had a lot of those strikes occurring in Russia. It's hard to tell if those are directly being carried out by Russian military forces, if there's maybe a third party, possibly a private military contractor, a mercenary that's taking, maybe a special forces group that's taking taking out those strikes there. Again, hard to tell. Sinan says people in North Africa going to starve. Yeah, so there's a large food security issue here that's on a very broad level, not just Ukraine, not just Russia, but worldwide. And I believe in one of our panel discussions a few weeks back, we actually touched on that briefly. Curtis Cardwell says from Southwest Montana, says thanks, Nemico, for this important update. Thank you, Curtis, for tuning in tonight. Scout says family of troops suffering. Do not forget about the sacrifices that we make. Yep, 100%. The families on not only the Russian side, not only the Ukrainian side, but the Russian side as well. Both sides, there are families that are suffering, having to bury their dead, having to bury, their sons and daughters that are being sent home in body bags. So, again, a massive loss of life on all sides of this equation. The Most Banned Queen says, Nemico Network, can you help me understand why we are sending ambassadors to Ukraine and reopening the embassy when it isn't safe to send our president there to meet with Zelensky? That's a good question. I'm right there with you, Most Banned Queen. Some would argue it's a sign of solidarity. Some others would argue that it's a dumb decision that could possibly spark the next world war. It's somewhere in the middle. The truth is somewhere in the middle when it comes to why they're doing that. I 100% agree that it is kind of a show of solidarity. There's facilities that need that embassy staff to be there. There's individuals that need that embassy to be there. However, again, it's very risky for them to be putting that staff back into place there. And so, again, we're going to have to keep a close eye on that situation. Again, it's very touchy. I think going forward, we're going to see if anything comes of that. If a strike occurred on one of those embassies, again, I talked about this earlier. It's hard for me to tell you guys, definitively, how the U.S. would react to that. If they would go further, and make a more direct retaliation to a strike like that, it's hard to know. House Virgo says, Nemico Network, did you happen to catch the Navalny docu on CNN? Thoughts? I have not watched it yet, but when I watch it, I will be able to give a comment on that. I know I've covered Navalny in the past. I've followed the developments with Navalny, including his poisoning. Very interesting developments. However, again, I haven't yet to watch the documentary. Mother Saki says, Russia has saber-rattled so much that I'm not afraid of the nuclear threat from them anymore. They're just like a bully in school, threaten and threaten and threaten, and they never do anything. Now, see, I kind of partially agree with you there, Mother Saki. However, on the other hand, I think we do need to be careful. We need to be very, very careful. Because I think it's important not to underestimate your enemy, especially Putin, when he has proven time after time again that he's willing to push the limit, so to speak, when it comes to how far he's willing to go here in Ukraine. Dirk says, will we ever hear Gerd McBird's voice? I don't know if he's ever been in any of our panel discussions or not, but I'd love to have Gerd on. I know he's a prominent member and a good moderator over there in the Discord server. Love to hear from him always. And maybe eventually we can get him on the show as part of a more open discussion. In the future, I've been thinking about possibly having a few dedicated people to kind of sit in the background with me on the reports over Discord. And as I make mistakes, they can jump in and be like, oh, don't you mean, like earlier when I said $120 million in ammunition aid, and really it was 165, they can very quickly, look at stuff and be like, it's 165 million, and kind of help me with things. I've been thinking about that. Maybe that's something we could look at in the future. Kreshin says attacking the U.S. directly is an Article 5 violation. I believe that's if it's on soil, if it's out of Ukrainian soil, if it's on NATO soil, I think it would be Article 5, right? Somebody says as embassy grounds are sovereign territory. So yeah, again, I'd be interested to see how the U.S. would react to a strike of that nature on an embassy. Let's hope that it doesn't happen, though. Let's just hope that does not occur. Pocky, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Laura Grace, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Glad to have you on. Scarlet King, thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel this evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Beth, thank you so much for tuning in. Says fresh shaved head, looking fit. Well, thank you so much for those kind words there. That means a lot to me. Katie Horton says, hi, Nemico. Hello to you, Katie. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Again, thank you to everybody that tuned in to the report tonight. Dave actually says, it says, this is a channel about Russia/Ukraine, right? Why all the other U.S. News has nothing about the war? Your channel was awesome. But has declined to check out Counter Garbage. Again, we try to stay neutral, okay? We're trying to stay right down the middle between Ukraine and Russia. We're a neutral observer as much as possible. Of course, we do kind of lean towards Ukraine, and I've talked about this before. They are the underdog here. They're the ones that are being invaded. Russia is coming from a stance. They are on the offense, okay? They are the occupier, all right, as is fact, all right. It is their special military operation to occupy these areas in Ukraine. And that the war is mainly unfolding in Ukraine. And so when we do things like we play the national anthem of Ukraine, and we're giving support to the Ukrainian service members that are putting their lives on the line there. We're putting our hearts out to the civilians that are losing their lives, that are losing their livelihoods in Ukraine. But I also make it clear a lot of the times that we are putting, we also put our hearts out to the Russian service members that are going home in body bags, to the Russian families, and to Russian citizens which are having to deal with this at home. Because I know a lot of them. I've had friends from Russia. I know a lot of our community members, have had friends from Russia or people that they knew in Russia, that don't agree with what's going on there, and wish they had a more free and open exchange of information and dialogue there within Russia. Again, we hope for a better future for both countries. And again, it is kind of hard sometimes to stay right down the middle of neutrality here, but we bring you news from both sides of the equation. Snazzy says, will there be another panel discussion soon? Yep, I'm looking to get one organized, hopefully for this week or next week, if possible. JN says, thanks for your channel. Well, thank you so much, JN, for tuning in tonight. 1907I says, what happened to the New York Putin? I believe you're speaking of Discount Putin. Maybe he'll make a return appearance at some point. Lori H says, thank you for our Monday evening report. Much appreciated as always. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for tuning in tonight's report. If you guys at any time ever have any good feedback, if you guys know of any ways that I could improve these reports going forward, or things I could do differently, I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Okay, I try to take every piece of feedback you guys give me, no matter how constructive, no matter how harsh it can be. I take it to heart, and I do actually try to implement some of your guys' feedback and some of your guys' improvements. Okay, so I appreciate all of it. Again, thank you to everybody that's tuning in. Epi, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Glad to have you back, tuning back into the stream this evening. Keenan Rocks, I saw that Ukrainian ad of the dramatic message to Ukraine's Putin's Russia. I don't know if anybody else has seen that video. It is pretty disturbing, not going to lie. Also, pretty, mind my French, badass. Also, I was one of the first words that came to mind. Really creepy, though. Really creepy video. Again, thank you for sending that over, Kenyan Rocks. I don't know if I'm going to show that on stream or not. You guys can look that up for yourselves. It's basically a Ukrainian dramatic. It's a Ukrainian ad to Putin's Russia. Yeah, but if you search those terms exactly, you could find that video there. Keenan, if you wanted to link that in chat, feel free to do so. Kayuka, to everybody that has sent in. Okay, so Kayuka actually sent in this image. Actually, I got it up on screen now. I was actually looking at the wrong fire. The fire I was looking at on Firms was north. The cluster was south. Thank you, Kayuka, for sending that over and clarifying that with me. Much appreciated there. Again, thank you guys to everybody that contributed those reports tonight over on the Situation Room. Again, thank you to everybody that tuned in for tonight's report. Smuggies, thank you for tuning in. Katie, thank you for tuning in. Ponikas, thank you for tuning in. To everybody that tuned in tonight. Again, I'm just scrolling through all of the comments you guys have left me. Bella says, you do a wonderful job. No fake news here. I do. Listen, every time I go through the news, guys, if I think something is unconfirmed, if I think something is unverified, if I'm not sure on something, I let it be known to you guys 100% of the time. Even if we get a news post in that says, okay, like the oil depot has been struck, and we're like about 100% sure it's the Ukrainians that did it, even if I'm not 100% sure, I tell you guys, okay? Even if I'm pretty sure, but it's just happened. I tell you guys, hey, let's wait a little bit longer. Let's wait to get some information on this before we, come to a conclusion. Okay. And in the past, when we bring you guys a report, that's say something comes out, breaking news, we bring you guys the information on it, and then the next day we find out, okay, this was a propaganda post, or this was fake news, or this was this was that. We let you guys know. All right, we've come back on things. We've made corrections in the past. There's no shame in it because that's part of the battle here. This is an information war, and we have to sift through. The bulk of this news here to get to the real nitty gritty, to get to the real truth, to get to the real posts. Dirk says more Dasha stuff would make everything better. Yeah, I'll add. Again, we added Dasha to the mug and a few other places. I'd like to make some Dasha memes eventually. That'd be nice. SS Sam says, any more firework videos? Yes, I hope to do a lot of those this summer. In fact, I have our next subscriber special. I had my 100 subscriber special last July 4th, and then on New Year's Eve of this year, I had my 200 subscriber special, and I'm now up around 60,000 subscribers. So I'm going to have to figure out something to follow up that subscriber special because it has to be better than the first two. So I'm going to have to do something special for you guys for those. I have my 10-year anniversary. 10 years I've been on YouTube. 10 years, 10-year anniversary coming up. This June, so I have a video I'm going to be doing for that as well. But yeah, I have more fireworks content coming for you guys up this summer. Not just fireworks videos, but we have open source intelligence content. We have some computer and IT content coming your guys' way. We have some stuff I've done. I've made I have a whole backlog of content I've been working on for a few years now. There's an old abandoned Cold War radar base that we went out and explored. I got access to. It's actually closed off to the public. We got access to it as a channel, and I was able to go and explore it before the property was sold off. And so I'm working on a video right now of kind of a mini series that we did on this abandoned Cold War radar base. It's a U.S. radar base. Pretty crazy stuff that we found out there. So I'm pretty pumped to bring that to you guys. Mr. Chancho says, "Is this chat on screen?" Yes, it's on my desk there. If you see it there. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, Chancho. Again, thank you guys to everybody that tuned in tonight's stream. I thank every single one of you guys for taking the time to tune in to get your information here. I do everything I can to improve my reporting to you guys, and will continue to do so as long as this war continues on. After the war is over, I'll be kind of making a return to like my normal content. Don't worry, we'll be doing more open source intelligence content and more news reporting content going in the future. If ever there is a war or an event, a news event that we should cover like this, you guys can bet that we will be there covering it for you. But again, guys, to everybody that wasn't able to make it for this whole report tonight, I will be uploading it to the YouTube channel as usual after this is done live. You can find that on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Nemico Network. To everybody that was looking for any of the links to our sources, you can find those in the description below this YouTube stream or below the video, depending on how you're watching it. Down there you can find links to our open source intelligence sources. You can find links to donate to Ukraine. You can find links where you can support the channel. You can find links to our Discord server where you're welcome to join. Over there, you can join us on our conversations, our discussions that are taking place in the plethora of channels which we have set up over there, not just for Ukraine, but for a variety of topics. You can join in our situation room over there where we are aggregating news reports 24/7. If you would like to get news on what's going on in Ukraine, the best place to get any news is on our Discord server. Guaranteed, you can get news faster there than any other source on the internet. Guaranteed. Just the amount of work that people have been putting in there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week has been absolutely astonishing. Just the speed in which we're able to aggregate this information, the speed at which we're able to get these reports for people, to get this information out to you guys is absolutely astonishing. Also, we have a large community of voice chat users over on the Discord server. They would love to have you guys join in on the conversations over there. And if you are a constant contributor to the voice chats over there, we listen in for those people, and if you are a contributor over there, you might be selected for our speaker rank. If you get our speaker rank, you'll be allowed access to our open panel community discussions, which are recorded and live streamed here on the Nemico Network. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. It's the best way to get the algorithm's attention. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to get notified when new streams or new videos go live. It's also the best way to support the channel if you would like to support us here. Again, if you're following along on Twitch, make sure to hit that follow button. I love every single one of you guys is following over there on Twitch. You guys are an awesome little niche community over there on Twitch, and I love having you guys over there. If any time our streams go down on YouTube, you can always hop over to the Twitch stream, or vice versa. If the Twitch stream goes down, you can hop over to YouTube. This report, again, airs live every night, 9 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 4 a.m. Ukraine time. I am looking to possibly shift the schedule for these reports an hour earlier. We might start doing these at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so an hour early. That would be 3 a.m. Ukraine time, which works a little bit better for me. Again, I'll be announcing that in the coming days. Let me see. Am I missing anything else here? I'm trying to think again. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been your report for April 25th of 2022 for this Monday night. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You have been watching Nemico Network.
Something that will change our daily lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.